Okay, let's say that the law of attraction didn't do it for you. Let's say that you could manifest one thing or some things or maybe anything. And it's normal, it's okay. It's all about habits. And we don't have the same habits. We're not all used to meditate, stand in front of the mirror to do affirmations, which most of the time sounds like we're lying to ourselves, pretending that we already have something we really lack. It's all about the relationship between the conscious and subconscious mind. That very simple mechanism, just a few think they understand. That doesn't mean that the law of attraction doesn't work though. It does. The thing is that sometimes it's a little bit complicated to use it. But what about if I give you something more simple, something easier, something way more practical to get the material things you don't have, the material things you want. Something where you don't have to meditate, because many of us don't meditate. Something where you don't have to do affirmations, because many of us don't like to do it, or to know how to put ourselves in the right mood, the receiving mood. Because guys, there's always a choice, mostly here at TopicRuben. Have you ever heard about the technique, the 101? Desires? No. Make sure you stick until the end of this video, because there's a lot of valuable information for all of us. There's a person in Italy called Igor Sibaldi. He's bestseller author, and he explains in many of his Italian lectures and conferences, among many other things, the technique of the 101 desires. Let's start by saying that this is an ancient Buddhist technique readapted to our new world. With this technique, our conscious mind will order our subconscious mind something, starting at once a series of psychological mechanisms. With this technique, we want something or we desire something, but careful with the word desire. Desire comes from the Latin desiderare, which is the opposite of considerare. I'll tell you more about this in a minute. So what do you need for this? 2 notebooks. One will be used as a draft, and the other will be used for the final purpose. In the first book, you need to write sentences. And every sentence will start with I want. Not I wish, or I desire, or I would like to, because desire and want are 2 very different things. Now, we said before that desire comes from the Latin desiderare. Desiderare. Sidera, stelle, stars. Desiderare is the opposite of considerare. A person who desidera doesn't considera. In the Middle Age, one of the 7 compulsory arts was astrology. It was a normal thing for them to go out and check the stars. The light pollution didn't exist at that time. Considerare means I look at the sidera and I adapt. I obey. For example, Saturn commands and I stay put. Mercury commands and I play the lottery. Venus commands and I make that phone call to that person. On the other hand, desiderare means I see the stars and the way they are and I don't care. I want something else. Trees are very smart organisms, but they're not able to do that. For a tree, autumn is autumn. It considers it's autumn. You consider it's autumn, but desire is summer. Let's think about a supermarket. In a supermarket, you can choose. You can choose to buy eggs, veggies, potatoes, milk. You can choose. You can't desire. You can't go to that supermarket and desire 3 elephants. You go and say, I want 3 elephants. They will look at you. You can't find them because there are no elephants there. Now, there are many people who treat the world as a supermarket. They arrive and they take what there is. Poor them. The thing is that after we die, Then we get up there and they tell you, but didn't you see that the choices game was prepared by them for you? So if somebody tells you, choose right or left, you say, back. With desire, you want more than what the choices we were talking about proposed to you. But if you only desire, you'll end up with some kind of melancholy. You won't be able to find those elephants. We need to turn on a different process called want. The want comes, in most of the cases, a couple of times during the day. It's like a breeze. It comes and tells you, where are we going? Most of us, however, don't have an answer ready, and therefore the breeze goes away, and we miss this opportunity. There will be others, but that one, we missed it. Some people, however, have, unfortunately, an answer ready. And the answer is here. I want this. I desire many things, but I want this. I want my belly, I want my arthritis, I want my family problems. And the want says, here you go. Oops. That want is present in the most vast areas of the psyche, which are above the time and the space, and which prepares the way everywhere you go. The want is beautiful, very beautiful. So we have to be ready. And this is the purpose of this technique of the 101 desires. You have to prepare a list of many things that you don't have. They are answers you can give to the want when it arrives. I'm not talking about God or angels or archangels or guardian angels or anything of that. I'm talking about something which is much more below all that. You will, however, see it immediately. Nevertheless, as the want wants quick, concrete, clear and precise answers, there are 10 rules to follow. Number 1, I want. And this was the first rule. Every sentence will start with I want. Second rule, do not use the word don't, because the want doesn't understand that word. Therefore, if you say, I do not want to have a cold, 15 minutes later or half an hour later, your nose will start getting blocked. Same way, never write, I don't want to get any illness. You should always write, I always want to have a perfect health. Same way, never write, I want to overcome problems. Watch out. Use your common sense. Third rule. Every desire must have 14 words. Commas count as a word. Why? Because we can say with one breath a sentence of 14 words. Rule number 4. This is more like an advice. Don't ask to have a romance or a sex story with someone in particular. Usually people ask to be with a famous person, like an actor or an actress, but you have only seen them at movies. You don't really know how that person is. In that case, it's much better to write, I want to have beautiful romantic or sexual relationships. Rule number 5. Do not compare yourself to anyone. Example, I want to be tall like that person. Again, the want doesn't understand that. Besides, you desire to be like that person, and you may have some of the positive appearances that that person has, but you will inherit all the problems that person may have as well. Think about you and only you. You are unique. Do not desire what others desire. Otherwise, we fall into something called envy. Envy in Latin means not to look straight. So look forward and desire for yourself. Rule number 6. No serial desires.
What does it mean?
I want an apartment in Florida, in Amsterdam, in Japan. I want an apartment in... No. Get a real estate agency. Every desire has to be original. Every desire has to amaze you. There is a good sprint in your list of desires at the beginning, but at some point you don't find anything else. But you have to finish your list, and your list is 150 desires. So maybe tonight you decide to start with the list and you'll probably do 9 desires. But after 9, because it's not easy, and after 10, you'll probably stop and have a drink because it's not easy, because it's difficult. After a month, when you perhaps arrive to 30 desires, you may think you've probably solved the problems of this life and the next one. And you may say, but this is impossible. And what's happening here is that you will start to dig very deep into yourself.
That's what she said.
Discovering many things of yourself you didn't know. When you arrive to number 50, you have conquered not countries inside yourself, but continents. And the ideas you'll get will be so beautiful, so poetic, that you didn't know you were like that. You couldn't imagine you were like that. It's that beautiful that you will feel as if it were enough just to have written those desires. It'll be enough just to have read them. Before, you walked through the city seeing things the way they were. Now, you walk through the city like a child, looking everywhere. And you will notice things you never did before, things that were in front of your nose for years. But now you notice them, because now you're paying attention, because now you're seeing. When you arrive to number 60 and look back to the beginning of the list, you'll probably rewrite the first 15. Because at the beginning you probably wrote, I want a bicycle and I want an apartment in the center. But now, when you arrive to 62 and read something like, I want to be the owner of a multinational, and you go back and read, I want a bicycle, it will sound funny. I'm at a multinational level. And the thing is that, who will deny it? No one. It's a game. It's a technique.
Rule number 7, you can't ask for money. Why? Well, because money is something abstract. The want doesn't understand it. Do you want a castle? Don't write, I want to buy a castle in France without mortgage. No, write, I want a castle in France. Why buying?
Rule number 8, you can't ask for others. For example, I want that my cousin gets well from his illness. No, this is a very strong instrument. With this instrument, you don't have limits. The only thing you can do here is ask that you can do something for the others. For example, instead of saying, I want that my cousin gets well from his illness, you can say, I want to make sure that he is perfectly well. You are the main character. You will provide. Maybe you will introduce to him somebody who will heal him. And he could refuse, but you will do your part. Number 9, avoid using diminutives. For example, I want a little house by the beach. And within a week or 3 weeks or a month, walking on the sand by the sea, and we'll find a little house on the sand, a little plastic toy house. And then you will laugh, because it happens, because it's what you wrote. By the way, if you are new to this channel, remember subscribing and hit the bell so you get notifications every time I upload new videos. Rule number 10, last one. Only concrete desires, not vague or abstract desires. For example, you write, I want to be a very generous person, because this is something very abstract. In that case, you could write something like, I want to bring prosperity to this country or to these people, but specify what country and what people, because the conscience must assume the choice. It must assume all the details and responsibilities of the choice. Now let's get practical. How do we do this? When you finish with 150 desires, using your draft book, from those 150 desires, you will choose 101 and you will write them in the other notebook. The final one. leaving a good amount of space between one number and the other. This may be the most boring part. The most beautiful part is the compilation. That's a life-changing. Here you just have to pick 101 and write them in the other book. When you finish with this, you read the 101 desires once a day aloud, but just for yourself. Don't let anyone hear you. And you do it once a day for 365 days. It takes about 6 minutes to read 101 sentences with 14 words. Remember, do it in your own privacy. Why do you leave space between one desire and the other desire? Why? Well, you leave space so you can cancel and add one from the other list, from the 49 left. Sometimes when you do this, some people have certain problems. For example, this number always comes to reality. I don't have any more space between one and the other. The other problem is some people who say, I can't finish writing 150 because when I arrive to 60, 10 have come to reality. In any case, guys, it's all good. And the interesting thing is that these things happen for real. If you like the video, give me a like. And if you haven't subscribed yet, you can do it now. I'll see you next time at TopicRuben.
See you next time at TopicRuben.